darkest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
Do you remember this show? Yeah, this is Green Lantern the Animated Series, a show a lot of people like and would work nicely off the ridiculous hype that Jeff Johns' run brought. The series had Bruce Timm attached and would be the first DC show to use CG animation, something that had been used to great effect in Star Wars The Clone Wars. It explored a huge chunk of the mythos of the Green Lantern's universe, explored 5 of the Lantern Corps, and included many lanterns, both popular and very much not. Sounds like a perfect storm. Hot character, new technology, legendary creative, and a vast expanse of lore. Surely it would be the biggest thing for DC animation since the end of the DCAU, right? Well, it was pretty cool. Until it's cancelled after 1 season, supposedly because of poor toy sales, but everyone knows because this movie came out, and was a critical and financial disaster. This movie killed everything for the Green Lanterns, really. Because of Johns' run, you can see the average person wearing Green Lantern merch. The same way they do Superman and Batman. Green Lantern was the book at the top of DC's sales chart. And so it made sense to have the character be the one to propel the future of the entire brand by being the launch point for their cinematic universe. But then the movie was so bad, and then Johns' run ended, and the character slipped from A to B or even C tier in popularity, and everything just struggled. There's a Green Lantern movie being spearheaded by Johns, described as a lethal weapon in space, with Hal and John. For those who don't know, Lethal Weapon was pretty much a classic buddy cop movie with a straight man and then the out-of-control partner. John would have obviously taken the straight man role and Hal the out-of-control partner. But that never moved beyond the writing stage. So then they pivoted to an HBO Max show called Green Lanterns. This would have taken place across 3 different time periods, yet been in the DCEU. Alan Scott would have been in the 1950s, then Guy Gardner would have been partners with an OC, half human, half alien, named Bree Jarta in the 80s, and finally Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz in modern times. Oh, and Sinestro was going to be there, and the movie was still going to happen, which is why there was no Howard and John? What? They said that the show would be the biggest DC and HBO Max show of all time, with a budget of $120 million. And the show was going to have one of the writers of the Green Lantern movie on board, who was a key player in the CW's Arrowverse. But anyways, they casted Guy Gardner and Alan Scott. Sinestro was close to signing before silence. Then a long time later, they announced that the show is now scrapped in favor of just a John show, led by another of the writers of the Green Lantern movie, and this time the head of the CW's Arrowverse. Yep. But this announcement came the same week that James Gunn and Peter Safran were announced as the new co-CEOs of DC Studios. So, sheesh. There was also Wayne T. Carr's cameo in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which Snyder filmed without Warner's permission, in his driveway, so it was cut.
Many months later,
Gunn announced the new slate.
Lanterns.
And look, another Green Lantern thing, woo.
This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan.
That's cool.
And we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but
Nice.
This is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective
Whoa.
with a couple of
He's on board?
Green Lanterns who are space
No way.
cops watching over Precinct Earth.
Give me the show now. Now they better actually make this one. But back to the ugly past. As the hype died down, so did the amount of books. There are 6 at its peak, for characters like freaking Larfleeze. Then that shrank to 2, to even just 1. Anniversaries came and went, with little more than a special. Now how about this guy, Razer, a fan favorite. His wife's murder led to him being filled with great rage, meaning that he'd be a perfect candidate for the Red Lantern Corps. Each Lantern Corps is powered by their respective emotion on the emotional spectrum, with the Red Lanterns being rage, leading to pure violence. Reaching the top to become one of Atrocitus' closest ally, but he became delusioned with Atrocitus and the Red Lantern's ways and would join the side of Hal Jordan. He would fall in love with Aya, the artificial intelligence of the Green Lantern ship, who created her own body based on how Razor's wife looked. Razor's character would end up being one of, if not the most fleshed out character on the show. the creators had infinite freedom to establish whatever they wanted with this character and Aya. They could take more risks and thus introduce more unusual concepts, like a reformed Red Lantern. Beyond being reformed, it also heavily toyed with the idea that the Red Lantern would be able to reach a sense of peace so great he would become a Blue Lantern, no longer rageful, but hopeful. Part of this was the result of his belief that Aya was still somewhere in the universe after she sacrificed herself to restore peace in the war with the Manhunters. Razer is an original character created for GLTAS, so the show was the only piece of media, the only universe that he existed in. So the cancellation made him a character who was thought to be lost forever. Until Razer appeared in the episode Encounter Upon the Razor's Edge. He made his debut. Young Justice was shown by Greg Weisman, who has a storied histories with superheroes both on the page and on television. Further fitting was this show also brought several other animation-only characters in previous seasons, such as El Dorado, Wendy and Marvin from Super Friends. The episode was written by the creators of GLTAS, Jim Creed and Giancarlo Volpe, and also had him as a Blue Lantern, paying off the ending to his journey from GLTAS, where a Blue Lantern ring chased after him. His entire character and story was essentially a direct continuation from the show. And what a journey it was for him. For 4 years, Razer was a Blue Lantern still searching for Aya, initially holding onto his red ring because he didn't want anyone else to have to deal with it. But he ended up meeting the new god Metron, who agreed to keep it in a safe place. But Metron was playing him from the beginning and sought to see how the rings affected its users, and so he fed Razer false information to make him lose hope, and thus causing his blue ring to run out of power. Razer's rage made him put on the red ring again, and the resulting battle caused destruction all over the city. But then Razer gained an ability no Lantern ever had. He simultaneously wielded 2 rings, blue and red, which allowed him to rebuild structures and defeat Metron. He then promised to keep searching for Aya. Well, Young Justice has seemingly been cancelled again, and it seems likely that this is for real this time, but shows don't really matter. What about the comics? Well, in 2023, the writer of Green Lantern, Jeremy Adams, started to cryptically tease that an old character was coming to the book. While looking at his past credits, he wrote 2 episodes of Green Lantern the Animated Series. So it wasn't super unexpected when Razer finally made his comic debut. In issue 6, he showed up in a stinger to confront Hal about the current misuse of his ring. Now he wasn't wielding 2 rings, but he's wearing red and still holds a monk-like look and demeanor similar to that of a Blue Lantern. Now I find it extremely unlikely he ever dual wields, simply because Young Justice is a completely different canon that has all sorts of weird rules. Sure, some characters have held more than one in comics, but never permanently. But hey, this character has returned, which is pretty cool. While it's not like he's guaranteed he'll appear beyond this run, at least he's established as being back. So now he can be in the occasional background shot or something similar to New Guardians, where lanterns from different corps teamed up. Currently there are 2 Green Lantern books, one for Hal and one for John. John's book being appropriately written by veteran and rising talent in Philip Kennedy Johnson, and the main title has a backup, which has allowed for other Lanterns like Kyle Rayner and Jessica Cruz to get their own place to be. And both of those characters are being written by writers who made the character who they are today, in Ron Mars and Sam Humphries. And even more so, there are plans for some sort of big crossover between the 2 titles. Issue 7 just came out, and once again, Razer was on the final page to deliver this bit of news to Hal. The Blue Lantern battery had been destroyed. Now this means that Razer was with the Blue Lanterns, and he may have actually dual wielded. At the very least, it seems like he was a Blue Lantern when Hal last saw him. Jeremy Adams has since said that he considers the show to be canon adjacent, meaning these events happened, just probably not exactly how it went down in the show. Now, Razer's reintroduction being at a similar time of a Green Lantern resurgence may be a coincidence, but let's have fun, shall we? Why not look at this as a catalyst? The return of a long-lost character, also being the return of a top-tier hero to relevance. The Green Lantern brand has really come back swinging, and looks like we are exiting the blackest night for a new, brightest day. And so surely, we have Razer to thank for that. What matters is the character finally has a present and a future again.
Knowing Razer, I'd say he's got a pretty good shot.